Newport City Special Council meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Present at the meeting, council members, President John Wilson, Councilmember Kevin Charbonneau, Councilmember Chris LaShawn, Councilmember Clark Curtis, present as well, City Clerk and Treasurer James Johnson, Comptroller Programs Director Rebecca Terrion. Additional members, I have Mike Brown. I have Travis Ingham, our Chief of Police. I have Tom Bernier. Is my zoning administrator here? I don't see anybody on. Have everybody? Okay. Agenda item number 2, additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. Council member? Council member? Moving on. Next item, agenda number 3. This is your public participation reminder, will be comments by the public. We're going to be opening the floor to public comment for each agenda item. Members of the audience are reminded that members of the press are present and that these proceedings are being recorded for current and future broadcasts over the city's cable television channel. Members of the audience are further reminded that Newport City Council meetings are for the purpose of allowing council members to conduct city business. City council meetings are the only time the city council discusses, deliberates, and decides upon city matters. City council meetings are held in public to promote transparency and accountability in government, but are distinct from public hearings or town meetings in that they are not meetings of the public. Members of the public shall be afforded a reasonable opportunity to express opinions about matters considered by the city council, to conduct orderly and efficient meetings. I kindly request the public's cooperation and compliance with the published guidelines when participating in the meeting, and I thank you very much for that cooperation. So going forward with number 3, if you would bear with me. Once your name is called, I ask you to speak into the microphone. You will have 2 minutes. Do I have a volunteer council member to time the 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Thank you. Councilmember Angela. No, not councilmember. You're down as a councilmember.
I don't want to be.
Congratulations.
No.
Angela.
Hi, I'm Ann Shirello. I'm a resident of Newport, and I wanted to correct something that was said last time. And I probably would have let it slide, but then it appeared in the Barton Chronicle as well. Someone in here last time said the following, and it's just fuzzy math, and you have to think about it for a while. But I think if you speak to some of the junior high school or high school math teachers, they'll agree with me. So I looked at my bill, and about half of our taxes that we pay in real estate tax goes to the state for the school tax, and half goes to the city to keep us running. And somebody came in last week and said he heard that school tax was going up 15%, and then he saw that the city tax was going up 15%, and that meant that taxes were going up 30%. That's wrong. Half of your taxes, real estate taxes, are school taxes. And when you raise that 15%, that's all it can be raised 15% by the state. And when the city raises it 15%, it raises it 15%, and what happens is your whole taxes would go up 15%. Now, I have a concern with that probably, but it ain't 30%. And that puts us in the wrong category for making calculations. For example, if my bills for the year are, for the month are $1,000 for rent and $1,000 for the grocery store, and I hear the landlord's raising me $150 a month, and I hear inflation's raising my grocery bill $150 a month, then what I'm going to pay next year is $2,300. I am not going to pay $2,600 because half, when you raise half by 15 and half by 15, you raise the whole by 15. So I just want to get us on the same level. If I'm wrong, I'll get up and apologize because it's crucial. It's crucial that we have these numbers right.
Thank you. Next on the list, you have 2 minutes, Ms. Petterson.
I was just a little bit curious, sort of following the city manager position that's vacant. And so on October 23rd, the council terminated the interim city manager, but it's been 7 weeks since that happened. And on the 6th of October, the council then voted to hire VTCL to do the search. As of actually this afternoon at 4:30, the job still isn't posted on VTC, Vermont League of Cities and Towns. It's still not there. And I know before anybody criticizes me, that on the city website, not under jobs, but if you have to go over to the city manager little tab thing to click, the job description is there with a note at the top that says we're seeking a city manager, which isn't really a job posting. So anyway, so we've been operating without a city manager, for 7 weeks. And from this side of it, it appears that there doesn't really seem to be an intention to hire one, just that it's taking so long. I mean, it's in my experience in hiring CEOs of hospitals and things like that, it usually doesn't take 7 weeks to get a job posted, but maybe the city's different, I don't know. But what worries me a little bit is that the city website identifies our form of government as being a mayor and council form of government, whereas previously, as we know, it was a city manager form of government. And so I don't know how that changed and who made that decision, but it changed. So it's important to note that the citizens of Newport did vote for city manager form of government, and I would think that any change that was going to take place would at least have solicited a discussion at the council table prior to making a public announcement that the form of government of the city has changed from a mayor to citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next person, Mr. Brown.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Bierling. I'm a resident of Newport. I'm kind of dovetailing with what Ms. Peterson said, because I'm aware that in the absence of a city manager, that those duties and responsibilities fall back on the mayor. And the mayor, in the capacity of the chief executive officer, is, responsible for all of the finances of the city. When there is a city manager, historically, that city manager is required to have a bond. And given the fact that the mayor, in the absence of a city manager, assumes all the duties of the city manager, then by statute, I believe, you need to be bonded. And it's 24 VSA 832. I don't have my glasses on, so I gotta make sure. Yes, that's correct. And so the question becomes, are you bonded? If not, why? And when will you become bonded?
Thank you for your comment. Inside.
Pamela, City of Newport. I actually didn't have a question, but now that I do, I understood that from reading the charter, that the charter was really clear that we were a mayor and council-led organisation, not city manager-led, and I don't believe that citizens ever voted to change that, and to change the charter is a much bigger step than just a simple vote. And if I'm incorrect, please correct me.
Thank you for your comment. Next item on the agenda is the budget review, recreation, public works, other sewer, and water. So I want to say that the last meeting, we did this process, and I want to thank everybody. It went very smoothly, and we got a lot of work done, and the presenters were able to get through everything, and everybody had their opportunity to comment. So as a reminder, the procedure will be as follows for these budget presentations. The council members need to hear these presentations without interruption. The presenters will do their presentation in full unless the presenters themselves so elect to use a different format. After the presentation, the council members will be polled to see if they have any questions, and at that time will be recognized to ask questions, and the department heads will be able to respond to the council's questions. Please, it is imperative that the budget process is given ample time for questions and review by the council. Persons interrupting the process without being first recognized will be treated as though they were interfering, but I do not expect anybody who will do that. The public is requested to listen, please, to the presentations. If at all possible, write down your questions, specifically identifying the account numbers where the questions pertain. If you cannot write them down, of course, you'll still have the opportunity to address once you're recognized. If you do have those questions written down, it may make it a lot easier. But please wait until you are recognized, and so then you will have the floor. Remember, as this budget process goes forward, it may trigger the need for further discussions about tax rates, assessments, accounting principles and procedures, and corrective actions as applicable. So I'm thankful to our department heads who've worked as a team, and I would like to move forward now. So can I have a motion for discussion of the budget?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Are we good? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion is carried. First presenter, Mr. Brown.
Hello, everybody. Mike Brown with the Rec Department. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the highlights, starting on the revenue side. At Prouty Beach, you'll see PB transients. I'm budgeting $190,000, so upping that, and I think that's a conservative estimate, and the reason is because we have a full season of the 10 new sites coming up, and I think we could see more income if we have another good year like this past summer. So I think that's a very good conservative number, and we could realize more there. Moving down to the summer camp line, I did reduce that line. The original budget number was based on assumptions from a different market. 19 years day camp in Rhode Island and Connecticut is a little different than day camp in the Northeast Kingdom. So I feel after going through an entire cycle that the 25,000 is a more accurate number for this area, and that's after replicating the same marketing techniques over the 2 summers. So I think that's a safe number. The gateway income is up, and that reflects the MCM lease for the second floor. And you'll notice gas sales are up, and that continues to go up. We have 2 more months in this fiscal year, so I think the 60,000 is a safe projection. So overall, we project 8.5% increase in revenue, And compared to the last fiscal year's actuals, it's a 5.5% increase. So moving on to the expense side. So of all the lines that we have control over, I tried to keep them consistent with the budget. So some of the highlights at Prouty Beach, some of the lines on the actuals you'll see that are higher than budget, and that's because of the large expansion project we had with the 11 new sites, the bathrooms. So most of that was offset by income as well as fundraiser income from Happy Campers. So you'll see that on the income side. Let's see, the software line, if you move down a little further, that is higher because that's based on a percentage of the volume of online sales. So we're projecting higher revenue, so that line also needs to reflect that. At Gardner Park, you'll see at the top, the biggest increase is fuel oil to heat the skate shack. That's what that is. It is what it is. It's less than actuals last fiscal year, but it's still going to be higher than we budgeted for this fiscal year, I think. Lease equipment, you'll notice, is up, and that line is Porta-John rentals. This past year, the skate shack was vandalized, so we needed to keep the bathrooms locked. So we ordered 3 Porta-Johns for each of the fields. It worked out very well, but it cost us money. And I'm budgeting to get at least an additional one because it's more convenient for the ball players and for the tournaments. And the other line that's higher you'll see is the sale of goods, and that's candy and perishables that we sell at the skate shack, and that's offset by income on the income side. So at the waterfront, one of the highest highlights you'll see is the staffing, and it's an increase in dock staff, and that includes the greeters. And those are the staff that are trained by the DEC, and they inspect the boats for invasive species. They clean and scrub the boats as they leave to make sure that the lake is clean. We don't have milfoil or zebra mussels entering the lake from other lakes. So we ramped up that program this past summer, and we had greeters every day from May to October, and we plan on doing that again. Some of that may be offset in next fiscal year through a grant program through DEC. It's Aquatic Nuisance Control Grant. This year we received $8,000 for it, so that'll reflect on the income side when we see the actuals for this year. So the other big jump there you'll see is software, and that's simply because we charged off Porta-John rentals and software went on to the other expense line. So you'll see that line is higher. So we just separated that. But the percentage is going to be higher because it's 0. So overall, I tried to keep it as realistic as possible. And the budget reflects a 2.5% increase over last fiscal year's actuals. So if you want to move, I can briefly go through the other section, which is the capital.
You're in control of your presentation.
Okay. So on the capital side, I budgeted the same amount as in years past. So at the docks, our plan is we're permitted by the Army Corps of Engineers. We have a permit, and we're permitted to have 2 additional finger docks and an additional T-dock with our permit. So I'd like to pursue that. I'm actually getting quotes now, and what that'll do is we'll increase our revenue at the dock, like an annuity. I figure it'll probably be another $10,000 in income annually. At the gateway, that money and the other is to replace the rug downstairs. There's rips, there's stains, and eventually we're going to need to replace it. That's going to be tens of thousands of dollars. At Gardner Park, we plan on continuing improvements at the skate shack. Siding needs to be done, windows, an additional door with a panic latch on the opposite end of the building that opens up to the other ice rink. And at Prouty Beach, we want to continue with new full hookup sites at the overflow sites. So that's water, electricity, and sewer, and that'll be additional revenue. So once we make the investment, it's additional revenue a year. So we can probably squeeze another 8 sites right there. So there we go.
Councilman, you have questions?
I'm good.
Not at this time.
Any comments?
Madam Mayor, thank you. Chris Roy, Newport Daily Press. Where is the total expense line for the rec department, and how much is that? Is that the taxpayer dollars? And, yeah, how much is that out of taxpayer dollars? I'm just trying to see if, trying to find that line item.
So the total expense, if you scroll down to the last page, it should be highlighted, 778,
I was looking for,
but offset with income, the delta is 290,000.
Mr. Brown, do you mind showing?
Oh, yours is really tiny.
yeah.
Well, you're up.
Yeah, that was my concern, I couldn't find it.
Yes, sir. We're going to circle it.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
You all right?
Yeah, he's gonna find it.
I'll find it for him and circle it.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
In revenue, under what you call summer camp, line 39, when you are going to reduce the proposed revenue you're going to receive to $25,000, are you going to reduce the services that summer camp provides to the children?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, good. Good.
Nope, everything's going to stay the same.
Good. And just because salaries sometimes move in various ways, the salary that on line 93 in admin is $64,295 proposed. Is that just one person's salary?
That's just me.
Good. Got it.
And the rest of them, you'll see if you go through salaries in the different departments, Gardner Park, Prouty, compare them to actuals, it's because it's all divided up between like holiday, vacation pay, but we just put it on one straight line.
But
So
does
some
your
lines you'll see
salary,
zero.
does your salary appear anywhere else
Nope.
other than that admin?
No, just right there.
Great. And how many salaries are in the one for Gardner Park at line 227? How many people are in there?
That is the full-time, that's the public works, the maintenance person there, as well as seasonal staff. So that person is there for 4 or 5 months.
Okay, and he works for Tom and not you? Is
The
that-
public works person does it.
Okay,
Yep, correct. But we figured it's better to keep it consistent here so we can see the actual costs of what Gardner Park costs the city. Same thing with Prouty Beach. The maintenance person there is also public works, but we keep it on the rec department budget so we know the actual cost of the operation.
thank you.
So you said that this line is your salary, yeah?
That's correct, yep.
But you don't have any vacation, holiday, or sick?
It's all
You lumped
lumped
it
in.
all.
Yeah,
Okay,
but then when I
great.
code it, when I do my
That's great.
time sheet,
I
they
just
break it
wanted
out.
to make
Yeah.
sure
It's
you had
easier to
some
follow
sick
that way.
time
Thank
and
you.
some vacation pay. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next presenter. Mr. Lear, thank you.
Evening. All right. So the only revenue that Public Works has is our state aid to highways, which is up to $146,000. That's expense for our class 1, 2, and 3 roads. We get percentages for each one of those classifications. I'll jump right into administration. So Public Works salaries, my salary, there is 34% of my salary is in this salary line item. There's a 3% increase for me in that, and the remaining, because it's up 11.73, is Becky's, which she's taken on new duties, so her salary has gone up. Vacation and holiday under Public Works, everybody is in this line, in this box. But if you look at the actuals from the previous 22-23, it gets dispersed, so there's no confusion. portion of it goes there, and the rest goes under street maintenance. Just so if anybody's asking why that number is so much lower. Just pick out any of the higher percentage numbers, which we don't have any control over, would be the communications, that covers Wi-Fi, the cell phones, any of that type of stuff. That's split between all the departments. Insurance, well, that's pretty self-explanatory there. It's pretty much under admin. Jump down into street maintenance. Just want to let everybody know, it's always asked. So Public Works, total salaries for the Public Works is $587,346, so, which is 38% of my overall budget. I disperse, so under regular pay on any of the line items, winter maintenance, street maintenance, traffic, garage and facilities, city property, I disperse that amongst that. So if there's discrepancies there, it's depending on how that year goes, we may overexpend in one and less in the other. It's just putting those salaries wherever I feel they might get used. It may look confusing because there's probably spots that we didn't spend much money. We ended up concentrating in a different spot. Under materials, street maintenance, as you can see, I spent $67,000. I budgeted $40 the previous year. This year I put $55. Trying to be conservative. That covers any summertime asphalt patching, any gravel I need, any stone, anything to do with dealing with repairs to the streets. You're going to see under all of them, truck and equipment maintenance supplies, truck and equipment parts, everything's up. We just bought an exhaust system for a 2016 dump truck that cost us $16,200, which is half my winter maintenance parts budget. The last one I looked back, I think it was 3 years ago, we spent $10,000 on that same exhaust. So things are up considerably. Again, fuel is kind of a gamble there. I budgeted 24, I dropped it down to 19. Again, we can't predict what fuel's going to do. If it stays where it is, I'll be good, but here we are projecting out 16 months at the end of this next budget where we may fall. Again, truck and equipment repairs. Just to give a little insight on that, so parts, we have a full-time Public Works mechanic. He does a lot of our major repairs, but there are some stuff that we actually send out. So truck and equipment repairs is where we send the trucks out. There are certain repairs that are outside of our realm of working on. So, and again, I upped that a little. Well, we had budgeted 18 last year. I spent almost 28,000 on repairs. Jump down into winter maintenance. Again, the regular pay is just divvied out. Snow plowing and salting is actually part of the pay. Overtime is again an estimate. The way the winter's starting out, we're going to need some overtime. So, but again, salt and the salting and sanding is part of the salaries that's kind of placed in there. Again, same thing here. We got truck and equipment parts. And again, it depends on, street maintenance usually goes to the end of October, and from there to the end of March is winter maintenance. Just so how we define that and break it out. Hadn't really gone up much there. I did up our materials some. Salt is up just under $4 a ton. So at 1,500 ton a year, I'm about 5,000 in the hole this current year if I put out 1,500 tons. I did up that a little bit. Again, I'm trying to be as conservative as possible here. Go down to garage and facilities, there really wasn't much, too much there. Professional expense, that's typically any of the work at the garage, the furnaces and stuff like that. There is a state operating fee that hasn't changed, that's a stormwater fee. City property, you're gonna see a big change there. Since we've taken over the two rec department employees with Public Works, we tend to do a lot more work at city properties, since I oversee all the city properties. So I've upped that regular pay line item to reflect that. There's really no big changes in that line item. Store maintenance, same thing there with the salaries. I've lowered that some, depending on what we're going to be doing that year for work. I've also lowered the materials from 16 down to 12,000. You are going to see, and I do need to make a change right here tonight, these budgets sometimes this time of year are evolving as we find more information. So under professional expense, we're in the process of going through our 3-acre stormwater rule. I've hired Blade Horizons to help us with that. The city has 5 facilities, properties that are in that 3-acre rule. Each property is going to be $17,500 to do the permitting and everything that goes along with that. So I'm going to lower that 100 down to 90. It actually comes in at 87.5, and it gives me a little bit of leeway there just in case we go over on one of them. So we can lower that 10,000. Outside contracting, for nobody is familiar with the budget, that's our roadside mowing we do once a year. We typically do that just prior to the July 4th weekend to get the city streets looking good. The last item there, the stormwater fee, I've upped that some because the state's upped their stormwater fees. Traffic maintenance. So here is, we'll go down to outside contracting. So outside contracting, we've been hiring a specific company that does all our traffic lights. They do the maintenance. The next line item actually is the maintenance that they actually do. If they come in for anything outside the normal maintenance, that's where that outside contracting goes. The utility street lights is the power for all our street lights and the traffic lights. That's all underneath my budget here. That's that $100,000. And that's pretty much it for the Public Works Department. We're up 10.93. As you know, Public Works Department just received their next 3-year contract with a significant pay increase, and that reflects here with that 10.93 increase. And go to other. I can be like Chris if I can find it here. So on the Public Works, vehicles and equipment, I've upped that 10,000 from 160 to 170,000. That's up 6.25%. And for everybody that doesn't know, we have one truck we ordered last December, which was up 50,000 from a truck that we currently have. It's a 2001. We just ordered it, and we haven't received that truck yet. We won't receive that truck till maybe spring of next year. We just ordered another truck, and that truck's just under $200,000, and I have no idea when we'll see that truck. Things like this, since COVID, have changed everything. If we ordered a truck within a year, a little over a year, we'd have that complete truck. Street resurfacing, $235,000. I upped that $7,000, was $6,000. Street reconstruction, kept it the same. Reconstruction is any materials needed while we're rebuilding a road. I also put, if we're doing any crack sealing to the roads, that's where I would put it. Main Street maintenance, I've lowered that quite a bit. We still have quite a few bricks. We still plan on hopefully getting back to redoing the bricks on Main Street, but I still have quite a few in stock that we bought a couple years ago. Bridge culvert retaining wall, I've upped that considerably because of the East Main Street wall. Currently, right now, I have a paving grant, Class 2 paving grant for the Glen Road for $200,000. I've sat on it this year because I've been working with the state to get them to change the further end of the Glen Road to Class 2. So from Gray's paving out to the prison is still a Class 3. And I'd prefer to use that money on the further end first before I do the residential area. I'm hopes that'll change this winter and I'll be able to use those funds. So the retaining wall money, I may not get that money till 2025. That wall is going to be a major expense, so I'm starting to put money there. And even at 70, if I budget another 70 next year, in hopes that I get a $200,000 grant from the state, that may cover it, but we'll see. I'm actually engineering that too this winter. I've hired a firm to do the engineering on that so that we have that in play. Once you start a project, if it's shovel ready, a lot of times you're more apt to get the money prior to somebody else that's not ready for it. Street capital design projects, I put another 80 there. Again, the Causeway project's an unknown. I'm hoping we have currently enough money in there to do that project. If we don't, this is monies I'm going to keep budgeting in every year anyways. As I spoke to a few of you, Coventry Street is probably the next one on my, or Sias Avenue when we put the water main in is next on the list to rebuild some of our streets. So that's all I have in other. If anybody's got any questions. Oh,
I know you've got a lot more.
do I? What am I looking at? Oh, the gateway?
Do you want to go there first? It's your call, your
talking.
You've
presentation.
got a few more sections.
It's your presentation, so.
Oh, city landscaper. How could I forget that? Sorry about that. Okay. So the city landscaper. This past year we did something a little bit different, and I didn't really make much changes to his budget, other than he had seasonal salaries in there for $10,000. I reduced it to $2,000. I contemplated maybe taking it completely out. He pretty much worked by himself this summer, and that was kind of my goal, was to get things to a point where he could maintain himself and not increase anything there. I still could cut some. If I was going to cut it, I'd still leave a little portion there just in case in the spring where he's trying to get ahead. But overall, I reduced that budget by 5.13%. I did put some money into the truck. That's going to become an issue down the road. That truck is aging. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to get it inspected and keep it on the road. I mean, I shouldn't say it that way. The truck's sound except for the body work on it. And the way the state is with inspections, it's going to be a tough sell to keep that truck on there. But anyways, I upped the repairs on that in hopes that we can keep it on the road for another year. What else did I miss, Becky? Oh, recycling. So other than recycling, really isn't much of a difference there. The increase of a little bit more money hazardous household waste day, which we don't have much control over. And again, the two salaried guys down there work 12 hours a week. They get their annual raise. see anything else in there.
Okay, council members, any questions? Any questions?
Not now.
Any questions?
Lori Gray, Newport. So on the vehicles, when you order a vehicle like the one you ordered last December, is that a set price on that vehicle so that if there's any
It's a bid.
increases?
It's a bid. When we do a dump truck, we bid the trucks out, so you're buying the cab and the chassis only. And at the same time, we bid the body, the dump body, the plow, and the sander. And yes, that is a set. And the reason we used to do just the cab and chassis, and then we'd wait a while for the body, plow, and the sander, but now, because of the supply and demand, they want to purchase all that stuff up front. They have two different vendors that do that.
And we pay that out at the time of the bid, or we pay it?
We pay that when we receive the truck.
When you receive the truck.
Ms. Jones?
So under your overtime, oh, sorry, Jennifer Bierling, resident, Newport. Under your overtime, you've got it, so it's down by half roughly.
Which one?
You're under winter maintenance.
Okay.
Here, and you've got your overtime down by about 50%.
Yep.
But I guess my concern is, aren't you short drivers right now? And
Yeah.
is that gonna play a role?
Yes
You
and
know what I'm saying?
no. No, I mean, the guys this morning, they get called out there on overtime, and I'm utilizing other staff, recreation staff, myself, wherever we need to
To fill the
fill the
holes.
hole. Yep.
So you think that decrease is probably realistic, maybe?
Again, you know,
Depending on the season.
I'm not a gambler, but I'm trying to help to
Yeah.
try to keep our costs down in any way I can.
Okay.
I know it's going to be a tough year.
Okay, thanks.
Just a few questions. You said that Becky is part of the salaries in administration.
Correct.
How much of her salary is in administration? What percentage?
I didn't actually look at that. Becky, you did?
15.
15?
Yes. And 34% is in there is mine.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay.
You mentioned, and I just wanted to clarify, that 587,000 approximately of Public Works salaries. Were you saying that's 38% of all of the salaries, or that's 38% of the 587 is in Public Works?
That's 38% of the public works budget.
And the rest of it is in water and sewage?
No. 580, the 38% is just, that 587,000 equates to 38% of my overall public works budget, just their salaries.
Just the salaries of everybody but you, aside from you?
No, I'm in there too.
You're in there. So another 62% of monies, somewhere better than $1 million is in water and sewage?
No, you're confusing me here. So,
I'm confused.
so
Help me out.
yeah, so Public Works, the total number for salaries, me included, was 587,346. That's, I just threw out, it's 38% of my overall Public Works budget. Just the salaries is what that budget is.
Okay.
But then if you look at Public Works, materials, fuel, I have, I don't know how many vehicles I have. Salt's what, $130,000. The traffic lights and street lights is $100,000 for just the power. There's a lot of big ticket items in my budget that other departments don't have to deal with.
So let me ask again. So 587,346 is just salaries. And is it all in the Public Works budget, or is some of that 587 in water and sewer?
We're talking about Public Works general fund right now. I'm not talking about sewer fund.
Fine. I'm going down a little bit to street maintenance. things like, you have a section for regular pay, overtime pay, et cetera. And then down at, starting at 53, down to about 60, those things, repair and maintenance, sweeping and washing, hot mix paving, grading roads, are those also monies that employees receive to do those tasks?
No, probably next year those will be gone. For many years, I was always asked to know how much time we spent grading roads, how much time did I spend sweeping roads. So those are just line items on the guys' timesheets. It all comes up back under the regular pay.
Okay.
I've since changed their timesheets, and I don't care about that. It's just too confusing. So now it's all just street maintenance, either regular time or overtime. Those line items will probably all be gone next year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And down at winter maintenance, I noticed that the actual amount of money and pay that was spent in 22 to 23, 68,000, and yet you budgeted for the following year, the 23 to 24 year, 118,000, which is almost double, and about the same amount, almost double of the actuals that you spent in 22, 23. And I know that you I think that you try to figure out about how much you're going to spend, but that seems like double is a lot, and that it would be better if we really knew closer how much you're probably going to spend.
Well, it's kind of a gamble either way, depending on what type of winter we have, or if I put it all into storm maintenance and then something else came up and we didn't actually do that project, and so I've left a lot of money sitting there. Again, as long as I don't overspend my budget, doesn't really matter where I put the salaries. The salaries are what they are in the end. Whether I put them there and I break them out amongst all the line items.
And the same with garage and facilities on line 91. You've been paying out about $1,200. Well, one year you paid $975 out, another one was $1,237, and yet you're budgeting $11,000 for garage and facilities.
Again, that's my mechanic's pay, and he does maintenance for most all city vehicles, whether they're recreation, public works, sewer, water. Again, it's just being dispensed. Yeah, maybe if you really wanted me to tighten them up to make them look closer, I could maybe try to do that, but again, depends on the year. You never know how your year is going to go. So as long as I don't overspend my budget, I don't know as if it really matters where I put the salaries.
I might differ on that, but the regular pay under city property, I didn't understand why you increased the budget for that regular pay by 33.33%. Can you explain that again?
Well, when two of the recreation employees joined the union, we did a little shuffle as far as who was overseeing what in the city of Newport. And at that time, I took over all city property. That'd be Gardner Park, Party Beach, the Gateway, Pomerleau Park. I already was under control of this building here. So the guys, we tend to do more work, what we call city property, on any city property.
So does that include your pay in there?
No.
And the two guys that you talked about, we just learned they got paid in the recreation
They get paid
department.
either at Gardner Park or Party Beach.
But they're in that budget, right?
Correct.
So
They're not in-
who else is in this budget?
I have 10 full-time Public Works union members, and I have one full-time non-union foreman, and myself. portion of myself.
So you're saying it's a portion, obviously, that
Well, it's that
employees
portion
donate.
of that 34% under admin.
Makes it hard to figure out sometimes. I also didn't understand why you didn't have professional expense under stormwater maintenance. You didn't have anything in, I don't know, that's 20, I think that's 22, 23, 23, 24, $1,000, and now we're up to $100,000. How did that happen?
Because now the state they're always changing the stormwater rules. And now we have what they call a 3-acre stormwater rule that is in play right now with the state of Vermont. And we have 5 sites in the city of Newport that have to go through this whole process by a resident engineer, professional engineer.
Okay.
And as I
And that's what
stated,
you
that's
figure the contract-
$17,500 per site.
Gotcha. Traffic maintenance, you actually spent about $22,000 on in actual expenses in I think that's 22, 23. Why is it up to $50,000 now?
Again, it's just salaries. I can jockey salaries around if you want. It is what it is.
What is traffic maintenance? What do they do?
Anything to do with sign repair, replacement, line striping, crack sealing, flagging. Again, it depends on the year and what projects we're working on.
That was all my questions. Thank you.
So as I recall, last week, there was a request that maybe, and last week it was for the administration salaries, like city manager and our controller, so that we knew exactly what we're paying for that. Is that possible to do? I mean, I totally understand about taking it from different parts of the budget. Totally get it, because we do that. I do that at my job too. So, but sometimes when we have things like this, we're trying to understand what city salaries are. And I don't know if those are a matter of public record or how that works, but if we knew that you're however many employees you have, and this was the total salary across all, that might help.
My salary and portion of Becky's is under admin.
Right.
All the other line items, street maintenance, winter maintenance, traffic, is just my employees.
Okay. So then it would be
34% of-
easy enough to go through each one and go.
34% of under admin is my salary, and my salary is split 3 ways: public works, sewer, and water. So you'll see under sewer and water where the remaining portion of my salary comes into play.
And you're even across all 3?
Excuse me.
Yeah, public works is 34, and the other 33, 33.
Thank you.
Should I stay there?
Please do. Would you like to drink water? Yeah.
So, Madam Mayor, we need to do the other section, the rest of what falls into that. Before water and sewer.
Yeah, you just need some water. I needed to have water.
I'll take the microphone if you get an extra one. So just to hit on the rest of what's under other, we have our bike path right-of-ways for the railroad sections, the LCT membership, our NVDA dues, some miscellaneous expenses for flower beds, which we've now zeroed out. The volunteer band and the street banners and lights. So there's really not much difference in that section this year. Health and welfare, that covers our health officer and associated benefits. And Tom hit on the recycling. And then we have just a few different things under the other expenses. Orleans County tax. The tax sale redemption is something that when we do the tax sale, we just need an income and expense line item that zeroes themselves out to run through our books when the people who purchase property at the tax sale pay us. And then if that property owner redeems it, that's where the revenue and expense come into play. So there's never going to be anything budgeted for that. It's just we need somewhere to have an in and out on that. Downtown designation, that goes to the downtown organization, and I believe they're coming to the next meeting to give their annual spiel. NCIC, which is now a NECA contract that we did a couple meetings ago for grant management. Our insurances, the Newport ambulance, which we talked about a month ago. So we have a tennis court sinking fund in here that's been here for years. We resurfaced that facility a few years ago. And hopefully by the time it's time to be done again, we'll have enough money set aside. And then capital expenditures, there's a reappraisal fund line item. I put 20,000 in. I don't know if our assessor wants to speak briefly on that. Because he's hiding in the back corner.
They never turn down an offer like that.
So we are going to trigger for a citywide reassessment. I expect to get notification in the next few weeks. Won't get the actual official notification until sometime in June. The going rate is about double to triple even by the time we get this done of what we spent last year. And the amount that we've been putting in is very insignificantly short. I actually expect that you will probably be about $10,000 a year short of the $20,000. However, once I get formal confirmation that we're going to hit the reappraisal, then I've already had one conversation with NEMRIC, which is who I suggest. We can go to a couple others, and I think that line item might have to increase. The good news is they're running 4 years behind, so we have some time to increase it. In other words, there's so many reappraisals that in order to get it scheduled, if you schedule today, it won't happen for 4 years, so you have some time to make up the difference, although it may cost more by then. Any questions?
Okay, wait, face me 1 second before we go there. Any questions from the council? Okay.
Yeah, so the reappraisal, will we be, if it's 4 years before it's done, will we be penalized for the state for not having it done?
No.
Okay, so they'll kind of waive that,
what
say it's penalizes.
What basically is happening is that as long as you're putting the plan into place,
okay.
they're okay with that because everybody is facing the exact same situation. When I talked to Chris at NEMRIC to get a rough estimate for Becky budgeting purposes, he was 3.5 years out.
Yeah.
And the only company that you can get any shorter than that is a new company from out of state that has never really done it in Vermont. That's why I recommend that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Manette?
On the reappraisal, I thought, excuse me, I thought every year we had certain funds coming in to go into a sinking fund. It was money from the state.
We do.
We do. So is
However,
that-
if you take the amount that the estimate per parcel cost versus what that's going to be with 2,100 parcels, then what the state has been giving you is woefully short. It's based upon what happened last time, and at this particular point, you're looking at least probably a 60% increase because they can't get anybody to do it, and there's so much demand.
Right. Okay.
I will say that the state is showing signs of taking over all of the appraisals, and by this time next year, the study will be complete, and this may all be a moot issue. In fact, part of that bill is the discontinuance of the payments from the state, because I think they can do it for the amount that they're giving you now.
So is this the same kind of citywide appraisal that we just did in
2017 was the last one, yeah.
And I thought we were looking at like 10 years. Is that, what triggers that?
The common level of appraisal, the coefficients.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, once you get outside of a certain, let's say, how do I explain this? Let's say that we are sitting at a value of $100,000.
Yeah.
Okay, and as we send in our sales, okay, and those sales are analyzed by the Department of Evaluation at the state of Vermont. Okay, once that becomes a certain percentage, in the past it's been about 20%.
Yeah.
Okay, that would automatically trigger a reappraisal. Now, last year what they did is they changed the calculation to a coefficient, so we should have been triggered last year. However, there were so many in the state that would have been triggered, they actually changed the way it's calculated. Okay, so and what that is just it's another way of calculating the difference between what is appraised, the appraised value by the city, and what the sales are.
So is there anything taken into consideration over what's just happened in the last 3 years? And the fact that you can't even buy a home that doesn't need work for less than $200,000.
And how,
In our area. I think sales are so far skewed for the price of the house. I don't know. It's not time for the discussion. I'm just concerned about what goes into that.
Very good
That's all.
point. However, the triggers are set in stone by
the
statute.
Okay, thank you.
I just was going to speak to Ms. Grimm. That's actually what's causing it to get triggered. Is because the value that's on the books with the city is so far below what the houses are selling for, and that's what causes it to get triggered. The hope is that once they come in and do a citywide reappraisal, that it will take care of some of the inequities that might exist.
The state's going to require you to do it every 6 years anyways, no matter whether you trigger or not effective. They've already passed the law.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then scrolling down, we have the municipal building maintenance line item, to help with some of the upkeep of this building. And I think that's it. I think we'd already hit on all the rest of the stuff in there.
Any further questions from the council? Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Thank you, Mr. Green. Okay, next. Renier, take the hot seat.
All right. I'll I'll just jump to what I normally deal with, the fees, sewer income, and water income. I normally deal with that, unless Jim wants to talk about that. I'll just jump to sewer collection. So again, here under supplies and parts and repairs, that's trying to keep our equipment running and in safe order. Kind of speaks for itself nowadays, trying to buy parts. Prices are up immensely, and if you can even get some of the parts. Regular pay. Just on So Becky, correct me if I'm wrong, but so I have 4 employees, salary under regular pay. So we put a portion of their funds there, but it doesn't actually get expensed there unless they actually write it down on their timesheets, except for their benefits. Am I correct, Becky? So again, under that line item, we put that there that I have 4 employees, a portion of their salaries out of Public Works, but again, nothing gets expensed there unless we actually write it on the timesheets.
For any of your employees?
For any of the employees, correct. I just highlighted out a few things, so small tools and equipment, you might see that's up a little bit. Again, we spent quite a bit. We spent $4,426. I budgeted $4,000. We had $3,500. A lot of that might be small stuff. In recent years, we've been purchasing some bigger items that are aging in the garage. We just purchased a welder that was probably 30 years old. So I dispersed that cost-wise amongst Public Works, sewer, and water. That's pretty much what it's used for my mechanic. Materials, that covers any kind of parts that we need for any sewer mains repairs. I've upped that because supplies are upping in price considerably. Other expenses, I wrote that. So other expenses, as you see there, that's actually trainings. I put funds there for trainings for the Public Works Department under sewer. Pump station repairs, I've upped that 33%. We spent over $20,000. I upped it to 24. We have aging pump stations out there that are costing quite a bit of money to keep operable. Sewer plant, you're going to see an increase in the regular pay there. We've gone from 3 to 4 employees. I have a full-time chief operator over there, non-union operator. So that is up considerably. Other pay went from 12 to 16. That's on-call pay that they get, or call-outs, as they call it. Again, that I've upped that. Actually, I was under budget as it was, and as you all know, we have a new union contract, and that has increased also. So. Operating supplies, I've kept that down. Looked at what we had spent the year before. We were trying to get that press up and running. We had some issues with it. We had other things going on there. I'm hoping that, we spent $191,000 just because of the things that were happening, so I lowered that back down. Hopefully nothing else goes wrong over there. We won't have to overexpense there. Same thing there, repairs. We had some major repairs over there. We spent $53,000. I dropped it. It was 24. I dropped it down to 27,000. Communications, that pretty much covers the same thing, internet, phone lines over there, and it gets dispersed with water also. We have what we call our mission systems. So it's a cellular service that we utilize for all our pump stations, the water system, the sewer system. The guys get texts messages or alarms off their phones. Works very well. Plant improvements. Again, there we had some major upgrades at the plant we did. So I had budgeted $8,500. We spent $23,000 back in 22-23. I've got it at $12,000. We did some major improvements, but just so everybody knows, the last time we did our upgrade to the plant was 2007. We're coming up on that again. That's a 20-year upgrade that we typically have to do. The state will trigger that. We've actually already started that process with our engineering firm. We're starting to gather information to start to do some preliminary on that. So, repair and maintenance, I doubled it. We spent $39,000. I doubled it to $30,000. Again, trying to be conservative, but hopefully nothing major breaks over there. Right now, things are going well. Sewer admin. Let me pull up my notes here. So sewer admin, under salaries. So salaries under sewer admin covers city manager, Becky, Jim, Stacy, Robin, and myself. So 33% of my salary is under admin, under sewer. When we get to sewer, get to water, you'll see that 33% is under the water also. So under admin, we cover all vacation and holidays for myself and my staff under there, which would be sewer collection and the sewer plant. By the way, I did mention that we have four full-time employees there at the wastewater plant who also cover the water side of it. That's about it, other than the insurances and everything else that goes along there. Let's see. Go down to capital improvements. I didn't mention that in the general fund, so any capital improvements monies that I put in there, you can reference those all back to the 5-year capital plan. So sewer lines and structures, I upped it to $30,000. The siphon design, that's a design that we have been working with our engineers that covers the causeway siphon that goes across the park, and also the one at the Long Bridge, which is the main siphon that picks up all the sewer on the west side of town and gets it across the bay to the wastewater plant. I'm hoping that I can get that project going here in a few years. That they're both single barrel siphons, so there's no backup pipe for those. That's the reason for that. So under that exact line item, I have siphon sewer line construct, so I put $110,000 in there. The causeway's not that big across the Clyde River. That probably could be a directional bore underneath the river. The one across the bay is going to be a different, bigger project. CSO engineering, I gave $8,500. That is, we got a 1272 order a few years ago, which triggers all our overflows that we have in our sewer system. So we're under the state to look at those. It triggered the Bluff Road Pump Station project, which we currently have some SRF funding for that, which is a low interest loan or forgiveness, depending on how the state feels at the moment when that project's over. But that project should be taking off. We're almost at a final design for the it's not a complete overhaul of that pump station. It's just added stuff that's going to go into that pump station. The only other thing I have in there, and so you might look at the number, I've started a sinking fund for our Vector truck. It's a 2012. That truck was purchased for $350,000 back in 2012. It's still running very good. It's aging though, and that is a critical piece of equipment for us. Not just for sewer lines or catch basins and cleaning them out, but we use that truck heavily on excavations. Anybody that's ever dug in a ditch, when you call dig safe, they'll mark mainline power and phone and cable, but they don't mark what we call secondary. So this is our frontline machine that we utilize to locate that type of stuff, so we don't have to stick the bucket in the ground before we locate those lines. So we're currently looking at a truck that's about 700,000 plus right now. I will budget that, as you'll see, in the water also, because it isn't just used for sewer lines. And it will get budgeted in the general fund for stormwater stuff. But that's going to be a big ticket item. I start sinking funds for equipment like that, so I don't have to bond for it. That's the reason I do that. We have so much equipment out there. If I was to, I know police department, it's leases on cars. If I only had 5-6 pieces of equipment, I might opt to do that, but that's not realistic with Public Works. Any questions on sewer?
Council?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
The Vector sinking fund, how long has it been going for? Because you got 100,000 in the 22-23 budget, 80,000 in the 23-24 budget. So there's 180,000 in the sewer part already, and then in the water part, you've got it again for 20 last year, so we're up to 200. And how much have you already got in the fund from the general fund?
I hadn't budgeted anything in the general fund. Yeah.
Okay. And you said that
I'm looking at probably another 2-3 years out probably before I purchase that truck. And it all depends on whether the budget stays as is or we end up cutting something like that because we can't afford it. But again, that truck's price is not going to go any lower. It's just like a fire truck. It might be 700,000 now, and 2 years from now it might be 900. So all I know. We still have our current truck, which may have a little bit of value, but at that point, if we're going to hold on to it for another 2-3 years, even buying it for $350,000, you're probably lucky if you're going to get $40,000 for it.
okay. Back to sewer collection on the first page of the expenses. You said 4 employees get expensed to water and sewerage if they do the work. But you mentioned that their benefits get paid whether or not they do the work. How much of their benefits get paid by water and sewerage, whether or not they do the work?
I'll let Becky explain that. I'd probably screw it all up, so I'll let Becky explain.
So we have, is it 3 or 4? 4 Public Works employees. We split 40%, and this is when we budget salary and benefits for. I'm not talking expenses. I'm talking when we put together our budgets. We split them 40% general fund, 30% water, and 30% sewer. When they actually work, we take their timesheets, enter them into payroll. That's where their time gets expensed.
So if they only do $10 worth of work for water or sewerage, you're telling me that we only pay whatever the proportionate amount of health insurance is for $10 worth of work?
Right, so for all 10 employees over at Public Works, wherever they spend their time, whether it's in those different categories in Public Works or it's for water or sewer, that's where their time goes. At the end of the year, we do a final true-up for what was actually spent, and we correct the benefits to go along and coincide with, excuse me, with their salaries.
So how much they work,
So if
that's
they,
how much is in sewer and water for health benefits, et cetera.
right,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Another question about water meters. Water meters, we budget, a lot of years we've budgeted $40,000 in sewer, $40,000 in water, but for water meters. And like in 22, 23, you only spent $3,245 on water meters. So, and then we budget again for 23, 24, 38, for 24, 25, 38,000. There's a lot of money that we're budgeting, but we're not spending that kind of money on water meters.
I can answer that. For most people that don't know, the Public Works Department and the Water and Sewer Department had a complete change of employees. And this current year, the wastewater plant, I've had an employee out for 8 months now, 6-8 months. So one of the reasons we went to 4 employees was once we put all these meters in, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done with these meters, changing them out, reading the meters. It adds a lot more work to their plate. I keep budgeting that because previous years we were trying to install as many as we could. With the new staff, we've had some struggles. And again, this past year, we've been down to 3 employees. So again, you budget money in hopes that you're going to do certain projects, and sometimes something comes up and you can't, or you lose staff. So that's really why.
And do we have a residue, a group of water meters that are stored somewhere that are ready to go, that we've already paid for?
We buy them as needed. I'm sure we probably have 15 or so, 15, 20 meters sitting at the plant ready to be installed, and all the parts that are needed to do that.
Okay. And I thought we always had four employees in the sewer plant.
We did, well, I'd have to go back to see how many years ago. It was a long time ago we had 4, and when one got done, we didn't replace that person. And we were okay for a number of years with the older staff that had been there for a number of years. Now with new staff, and again, adding in all these meters adds a lot of extra work for these guys, because we actually install as many as we can. We're not licensed plumbers, but if it's an easy install, we can install these meters in there without having to go through the state, get a permit, and everything else.
How many did you install in 22, 23?
I'd have to look.
Okay.
Sure.
Guess that's it.
Okay. Go on to water? Oh, more questions.
Oh, yeah, more questions. So, on your sinking funds, Tom, there's a statutory maximum that you can put in your sinking funds, and I'm just wondering if, I think you're well within that, but is that something you considered? Did you look at that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
What's that maximum I can put in there?
I can email you the statutes. I don't recall off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look at them, but there's a maximum amount you can put in there. I think you're within the limit, because what I recall is that right before Ms. Dulgan left, she tried to double it up to use up some extra money, and that put her over. So I think you're fine, but it's something that you probably want to keep in mind. So I'll send you the link to that.
And you can discuss that with us.
And then The only other thing, and I'm probably going to address the mayor with this more than you, Tom, is that
Is this a question?
it's a comment on the water and sewer budgets, yes. And so, under the watch of Ms. Dolgan, in my opinion, many things ended up in water and sewer that I don't know if they're rightfully there or not. And my biggest beef, you and I went head to head last year about
It's okay,
it.
can you just get to the comment?
I'm trying, Mayor.
Okay, please, just make the statement so we can move forward.
I'm trying, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Is the fact that the items, the expenses that are in the water and sewer budget are not necessarily supported by the evidence. There weren't a lot of timesheets involved for the administrative components to things. So the city manager has 2/3 of her salary located in water and sewer, and yet I asked Ms. Dolgan multiple times for her timesheet, she could never provide them. And the statutes make clear that the only expenses that can be located in water and sewer are the expenses that are legitimately attached to water and sewer. And so on the heavy equipment, it all has time clocks in it. There's no record being kept of how many hours are going for water sewer versus how many hours are going for public works. Same thing with, the trucks and stuff like that. And that was my big complaint, is that there just wasn't any type of accountability, if you will, of record keeping to substantiate the divisions that were taking place. So I know you were going to do a deep dive into the water and sewer, and I was curious if you turned anything up in that regard.
Thank you. We'll do that.
And I don't know if this is the proper time to ask this question, but maybe it's underwater, but are we still getting any revenue for rental of the water tower for the cell towers from Vermont Telephone? Was that a time period? Are they paying for that, or
We receive funds for that. We also have the one at the reservoir, that's VTEL up on the water tower, and it's Crown, yeah, at the reservoir. So they have cell towers there. That all goes to the general fund.
It does go to the general fund.
Goes to the general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, are you going to answer the question?
When I call on you, fine.
Well, you did call it me.
Excuse me, you're not recognized. I heard your comment.
It was a question.
No.
It
I
was a
heard it.
question.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Water?
Water it is.
So under treatment and pumping, that would be the guys at the wastewater plant. So that's the 4 full-time employees. Their salaries regular pay goes underneath. That's why you can see the 44% is up, because we now have the full-time fourth person, which is a non-union chief operator. Operating supplies are up considerably. Had 12,000, we spent 28, so I upped it to 28.5. Again, here with communications, up considerably, but a big portion of that is our mission systems that we use for self-service for all our equipment. Other expenses. So other expenses is under all of our testing. So if we send out all our samples to Endyne, that's the bulk of that is Endyne that does our testing. Any licensing and trainings. Any of the guys at the wastewater plant hold a water or wastewater license, and they have to get so many credits every 3 years to keep their license. That's where that expense goes. Other than that, that covers that. I'll move into water distribution. Again, trucks and supplies are all up everywhere. Regular pay, same scenario here. It's the same 4 people, same salaries, same situation that we, if they write it down on the sheet, we're doing a water project, it goes there. Also, I'd like to say that we take on a water, say, I'll use Spruce Street as an example. We had more than 4 people there. So if you looked at my actual budget right now, you'll see I've overspent in the sewer because we had, you know, a 3/4 crew working that project. Let's see. Fuel is up considerably. So I upped that up. I went from, had budgeted way low budgeted for that, so I put in 15,000. The repairs is actually payroll. If you see that line item just below that. Materials, I budgeted 15. I spent almost 24, so I budgeted 24,000. That's for any kind of copper pipe, supplies, anything to do with repairs in the water system. Water distribution, I don't know if maybe I've never said it before. So water distribution is actually the guys at the Public Works garage. So they're the ones that actually are out in the field doing any of the digging, any new line replacement, repairs, hydrants, flushing hydrants. That's what that line item covers. So the next one below that on the materials, Derby Road water line. If you look at that number, you might question what that is. It's up 109%. That's actually the billing from the village of Derby for the water that we use on Derby Road. Again, repair and maintenance, I've upped that. It's like everything else, expenses are up. Other expenses, same thing there. That's under trainings or any other expenses might be a typical, well, you get an odd type of thing that you've done, you're not sure where to put it, it goes under other expenses. I did print that off, just if anybody had other questions on what we put in that line item. Admin, same thing under sewer admin, the same salaries. Becky, myself, city manager, Jim, Stacy, and Robin downstairs. Same under admin, under water, all the vacation and holiday gets expensed all under admin for all the employees with sewer and water. Guess that's it there. Let's go into capital. Again here, any capital item with water lines, labor reflects in my capital budget for projects. Water line, engineer and design, that we're currently still paying out money for the water tower project that hopefully is going to be going out to bid very shortly. They've also been designing the Sias Avenue water main project that is, I believe, at 90% design right now. That's where that gets expensed. The water tower maintenance contract. There's been contention in the past about what that is. If you look back, for 5 years of that 15-year contract, we were paying $93,074. There was a year where that check, for some reason, got sent back to us, and we thought we expensed it. It hadn't actually been expensed. But so you're going to see now budgeted 23.9, because for the next 10 years, it's going to fluctuate between $30,000 and $25,000 or $23,000 for that remaining 10 years in that contract. And that contract will cover any of the permits for the state of Vermont, any cleaning, the visual part of it, where they have to go in actually and observe the tank, and any painting that's involved with maintaining that structure. Debt services, sinking fund for Size Avenue. That project, as I just said, is at almost at 100% design. That project is one of the second one on the list. Years ago, the state put us on a timeline to replace some of our water aging system and our water lines that didn't meet the standard of 500 gallons per minute. The first project we did was Western Avenue. That was a three-year project. Size Avenue is the next one on that list, and I want to start budgeting for that project. I think it's critical we get that. That's a very heavily populated area, and it's served by a 6-inch water main. Those hydrants do flow over 500 gallons a minute, but considering the size of the area, it needs to be a much larger main. With that project, I will be budgeting to hopes that this project will go out to bid. I was kind of hoping that we would take the remaining portion of the ARPA funds and put it to that project, but I guess that's a council decision. But have that project go out to bid and have the water line installed, and after the contractor's torn up half the road, have the city come in and have me reconstruct the road. The sidewalk is going to have to be reconstructed because the current water main sits underneath it. So. Let's see, the WTF sinking fund, that's actually the water treatment facility, and we, by the state standards, have to set aside funds, and we should anyway, for any upkeep of that facility. It was just a couple years ago, we had to change out the main controls of that plant, all the motherboard, so to speak, the computer of it, and it was over $50,000. So, and again, I have budgeted money for the sinking fund for the back truck in that line item. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Councilmember?
I do.
Okay.
Line, excuse me, 224 Derby Road water line. Will that be reduced at all when the tower project's done?
Which one, what number are we on?
224.
224, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was it?
That was it? Questions?
Yes, I have a few. The water tower maintenance contract at line 284, going backwards. It was my understanding that for the first 5 years, it was supposed to cost $93,000, whether or not I agree with that contract or not. How did it get to cost us $115,334 in 22-23 when it was supposed to be for the first 5 years 93 and then drop to 20,000 or so?
Can you answer that, Betty?
Yeah. I did a little research on that. So, the contract for that with Suez that we had entered into happened in 2017, probably early 2017. By the time we made the first payment on it, we made it in the fall of 2018. For some reason, I'm not sure why it took that long, but that's what happened. So if you go back in the budget reports, we paid the first installment in FY 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then, because we were almost kind of a year behind, we ended up paying the installment for 23. That was $22,260. So now we've caught back up.
Okay.
So that's how that happened. So now we should be in that track of $23,000, $24,000 a year.
And you didn't happen to mention it, Tom, when you were talking about what it covered, but does it also cover any repairs that are going to be needed for the water tower?
Correct. Covers everything to maintain that tower.
Okay, and why is there a range as opposed to, I thought it was a set fee of 20, whatever it was, 22 or 23? And he was saying it could range from 22 to...
Because the 15-year contract jumps around in cost. I don't have it with me.
Okay.
It might be, I know it goes up to 30,000, might even be 32,000, I'm not.
30,440.
Yeah.
That's the last payment.
But the initial, they painted the inside of it last year, I believe. My memory fades me, but anyways, it'll cover all costs of that tower, any structural, any painting, and they also deal with the state as far as the permit and the inspections.
Thank you.
What is that? Next agenda. Right? Okay. Moving on to new business. President Wilson? Councilman Charbonneau? Councilman Shaw?
Excuse me, I still got that thing.
I know, because you're sitting next to Councilman Clark.
Maybe it should have been brought up during the budget process or budget talks, but Mr. Johnson brought up a good point.
Could you speak up a little? I'm sorry.
I'm going to use the mic if you don't mind.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay. Mr. Johnson brought up a good point last time that there are non-union workers in the building that don't have representation to push for raises. So maybe having some consideration of raising more than just the cost of living.
Right, and we have that, it's, factored into the budget. Okay, Councilman Curtis?
No, thank you.
Ms. Darian?
No, thank you.
Mr. Johnson? Okay. Next item, old business. President Wilson?
No.
Councilman Charbonneau?
No.
Councilman Vachon?
No, thank you.
Councilman Curtis?
No, thanks.
Ms. Darian?
I guess I would just ask, what are your next budget steps? Are we just gonna review the budget further next meeting?
Yes. Okay. Mr. Johnson? Next item, adjournment. But before we adjourn, I would really like to thank everybody who had great questions. Everybody who participated, and I thank you for that. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the special meeting at, please somebody tell me the time, because it means 8:12 p.m. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay.